Can you believe that that is actually in gear? You'd think it was in neutral, the amount of slop that's in this gear stick, and it's been bugging me all summer. I'm about to put the car into storage for the winter, or semi-storage for the winter, and I've decided I want to get this done. Yes, we're back on the Capri before it goes into winter storage. But my first question is, have you subscribed to the channel? I've just checked my subscriber count and my subscriber list and all the analytics to do with all of that. And really the 2,000 subscribers that we're almost there is meaningless, because only 5% of my subscribers are actually watching regularly. There's 95% of you guys watching my channel that are not subscribed. If do nothing else today, hit the subscribe button, get us to the 2,000 and beyond, and get us out there so that you can see good stuff like this Mk1 Ford Capri 3 litre E X-race car. We have got the Mini coming up, we have got Jaguar stuff coming up, I've got some tractor stuff in line, the Ford 4000 has got to be finished, I've got Triumph Spitfire happening, that's got to go back to its owner at some point soon, and I need to get that running. It's in the way because otherwise I can't put this away. And I've also got something special in the background which you may have seen on a couple of videos, as it's been lurking around in the background. So if you want to keep up with all our good stuff that we're doing at Wheels of Interest, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and share to your friends and get us out there. We have a wide variety of stuff that goes on the channel, and yeah, great to have you along. Click that subscribe button and be part of our family. Anyway, without further ado, we have got a very, very, very sloppy gear stick on this Mk1 Capri. And just as a bit of background, the gearbox that's in this car is not the original gearbox, because this is an X-race car, so the original gearbox would be probably long gone. The actual gearbox that's in this is a Type 5 4-speed Ford gearbox. The later one after that, the 5-speed, was a Type 9. So this is a Type 5, and apparently this sloppy gear stick business, all of this stuff that we've got going on down here, that is quite a common thing, and I'm led to believe that it is a fairly easy fix. So let's see what it's all about. So the first thing we've got to do is got to get access to below the gator. There will be a plate under the center console if you have one of these cars, and you'll need to get that plate off so that you can gain access to the pivot which is underneath the gator. One plate. Now there's one gator, and on this car we've got another gator. Right, now I don't know if you can see, but there is a like a big tab washer under here, and there's a couple of tabs which I've had to prise back to be able to unscrew the cap. And of course the idea of that is to stop this spherical cap from unscrewing while you're driving along and the gear stick coming out in your hand as you're driving. You can see the spherical cap there where the gear stick basically pivots in, and it's quite oily, so it shouldn't be rusty, and it is coming undone. I'm just going to unscrew it with my hand, so excuse my hand for a second. Right, then we're out. So now what should happen is we lift that up, hopefully that all comes with it, and out comes the gear stick, and that's what it looks like. And there's the locking tab. Now, the ball right on the end is the bit that goes into the selector mechanism, and the bit that's got the T-piece, the roll pin across there, you see that there's a red collar there, and there's something fundamentally missing. And what's supposed to be there is like a half spherical ball, which looks very much like this one. Now it's a bit black because I've been handling it with my greasy hands, but this is basically made of nylon. It's a new one. The old ones I think were made of plastic, and as you can see they just break up. You can see in my hand bits of plastic, what used to be the half spherical ball, and that used to sit down in this cup here, and if you look we can see remains of bits of the plastic ball. Now, where the rest of it is anyone's guess, because remember, it's meant to look like that, and all we've got left is that bit on the end, which is still on the gear stick. The rest of it, I can only assume, is in there. Now, I have drained the gearbox and put new gearbox oil in, and no bits came out as far as I'm aware, so this may have been long gone. But there are some bits, as you can see there on my finger, that are still left in the cup, which obviously we need to get rid of those and stop any more going into the gearbox. I have no gearbox problems. It works perfectly fine, there's no horrible noise, and at the end of the day it is only plastic. There's a fairly good chance that whatever's left in there is probably being ground up slowly, and I've drained the old oil out anyway, and it's got all clean fresh oil in it, and I'm not going to worry about it. If it was metal, that's a different story, but it's only plastic, and eventually it will make its way out of the box through oil change and just natural wastage. Now, there is also another piece missing, because right down, if I get my screwdriver, right down there on the end of my screwdriver, there is the selector. If I just move it, you can see a hole, and in there should be a little plastic cup that looks very much like this one, and your gear stick at the end, the very end of your gear stick sits in that cup, which sits in the selector fork and gives you a much more positive gear change, and that's missing as well. So no wonder the whole thing was like stirring a cake, and I'm hopeful that this is going to be a complete transformation. Right, let's get that plastic ball, or the nylon ball, the new one, on the end of the gear stick and get it all put back together. So what we have is we've got the cap. So what we have is we have the cap. Beneath that is a guide, like a half moon guide. Then we have a washer, then we have a spring which gives positive pressure on the gear stick when it's in normal use, and then I think that allows you to select reverse when you need reverse. And then we've got the remains of what was the ball, the nylon ball or the plastic ball or whatever it was. I think pretty certain that is plastic because it's just broken up into pieces. So we've got to get the roll pin out and fit the new ball. There we go, one roll pin out. One spring. One washer, which is nylon or plastic. One half cup and one cap, which has got the threads inside, if you can see. Then we've got a gaiter. And then we've got the one that goes inside the car. Looks very Ford Cortina-ish like. So we get this slot cleaned up and we'll get it all put back together. I've just opened out the hole in the nylon ball, because about a 1/16, because there's no way that roll pin would have gone in that hole without that. So I've made it the same as the hole in the gear stick, and hopefully now that roll pin should go in without damaging and splitting this, which we didn't want to happen. This isn't very cheap. These are about 35 quid plus VAT, something like that. I got them from Tickover, and it was nearly 60 quid with the carriage and the VAT on top, with that and the cup that goes in right in the selector fork itself, in the selector mechanism. So quite expensive when you think about it. I mean, if you had a lathe, and I do have a lathe but I don't have the time, you could make one of these out of nylon if you had the dimensions. So I'm just going to put a smear of grease on the inside of there. I'll give it a proper good clean. And how this goes is this cup goes in there like that. Then we put the nylon or plastic washer next. I may have to put a bit of grease on that as well, I think, just for that to ride on. That sits in there. and it's got a shoulder. If you look at it, it's got a shoulder on it there, and that sits in the hole where the gear stick comes through that cup. Then we've got a spring. Give a bit of grease in there, just give it every chance. Put the spring in there. Now I'm going to put this gaiter back on, and then put the gear stick with the bits back in, so it all sits in there well greased. Happy days. Then what we've got to do is we've got to fit that until it meets up with the hole. It's quite tight. Now the roll pin has to be proud either side of the ball because it sits in the slot that's on top of the gearbox, and so we need to make that pretty much equal, something like that. Gone a bit too far, I think. There we go. And that's it. One thing to check is that the spring goes down over the spigot of the ball. If you see there, there's a spigot there where the ball is, and the spring should sit over the top of that. It shouldn't sit on top. If it does, you've got the wrong spring. Maybe an aftermarket one, or possibly one that's sort of like put in there to sort of get you by type of thing, but that needs to sit and actually sit on top of the flat area of the half ball that you've got there. So just check that when you put it all back together. Right, let's go and put it in. So the first thing we've got to do is put this cup right down in the selector mechanism right at the bottom there, and you don't want to be dropping it in. So I'm going to be using a set of very long nose pliers to hold it, and then you can see the bottom edge of it has got it's like a clip-in sort of affair. You see it's split ring, and then you've got like a wedge on the bottom edge, on the bottom edge of the cup, and that clips in and sits nicely so it can't pop out. Right, so the problem we've got is we've got to get that down there, and it doesn't fit in the hole properly. You've got to go in sideways. This is fiddly. I've got a screwdriver around through it just in case it does decide it's not going to pop in properly, and hopefully I can just push it in and it stay in. There we go, we're in. No, we're not. Oh no, don't. Oh, this is fiddly. This is tense. This is tense because I don't want that to spring and disappear into the gearbox. That is sitting down nicely in that hole, if you can see that, and we're down where we need to be. I reckon that's good. Right, next is the tab washer. Now you can see it's got multiple tabs, and I think basically there's so many ribs on the gearbox and bits and pieces that stick out. I think if you just basically put it back in, there's two ribs which will like go back towards the front of the car and back of the engine to the front of the gearbox, and there's a specific tab which is bent down, which I think is the one that is the main one, which I'm going to give it a little bit of extra bentness, if you want to call it that. Then the next thing is the gear stick itself. Now the gear stick is straight, so you haven't got to worry about which way around it goes. Well, this particular gear stick is straight. I'm assuming they're all the same, so it doesn't need to go, if you're going back to front, it's not going to be in the wrong place. It's going to stick straight up. I've put a little bit of grease on the end of the ball, just there, and I've put a bit of grease on the actual nylon cap as well, and you just basically got to locate it in the cup right at the bottom in the selector, push it in, and I don't know if you can see, let me just move everything out of the way. It's not very easy to see. Can you see it? There's the ball in my finger there. I'm just moving it. Sorry, that's the cap. There's the ball sitting down. You can see it. There you go. There's the ball sitting in there, and it sits in that cup on the top of the gearbox, and the roll pin goes crossways in 2 slots. Then you've got your spring along with your washer, and then the cup that goes over the top, which then should screw back down. It's quite a fine thread, by the way, so you don't want to be damaging it, because that will be an absolute nightmare. So you've got to just give it a little bit of, my spanners are going to be in the way, you just got to give it a little bit of a push just for the thread to pick up, and then screw it down till it goes down tight, making sure, as I didn't, making sure that the tab washer doesn't move. But I suspect that doesn't really matter, if I'm honest, because you can turn those tabs wherever you want them to. Let me just now, as there's chisel marks already, I'm just going to use those to my advantage and just give that a bit of a tighten up with a screwdriver. There we go. Now that cap is now tightened down, and all we got to do now is basically lift up the tabs there we go, just so that the whole thing can't unscrew itself. What a transformation. Unbelievable. I can't believe the difference. Right, so the gaiter's on. Now the gaiter that's underneath actually fits nicely over the cap. I suspect, although I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me differently on these if you know more about these gearboxes than I do. I suspect that gaiter there is to act as some kind of dirt guard, stroke oil seal, stroke oil, you know, cap or something, to stop any oil and dirt, or getting any dirt getting into the top of the gearbox ball there and the gear shift ball, and stopping any oil coming out, because that has slipped nicely over the top of that ball. So I'm happy with that. That should make for a way better driving experience. Brilliant, well chuffed. So I'm well happy. You can see we've pretty much fixed all that sloppiness in that gear stick. If I put it in the first, second, third or fourth, I've got a little bit of play, which is what you'd expect. It's not a race gearbox, it's not tight. It's quite close a gate, to be fair. Actually, it's quite nice, but then it was, you know, it was a GT car back in the day, so it would have had a sporty feel to it. I'm presuming that this is what it would have been like, but that fix, the whole thing had completely disintegrated. The nylon had gone, or the plastic had gone, even the cup at the bottom of the gear stick itself, all gone completely. No wonder it was as bad as it was. That's about as worst as it can get, and now this is absolutely perfect. So nice easy fix, take me just over half an hour. Obviously I've got no carpets, I've got no console in here because this is a stripped out car. If you had to take the console out, that'd take a bit more time. Obviously you've got to get the carpet up as well, or get round the carpet. If you've got a pale carpet, you're going to get oil on it, so be careful. But generally that is actually quite a good and easy fix if you've got sloppy gear sticks. So if you like the video, click on the like button, click that subscribe button and be part of our family. Join us at Wheels of Interest and keep up with the good stuff that we've got going on the channel. If you want to share it to your friends, you know somebody's got one of these and that's going to be a useful fix for them, send it on to them, let them have a look at it, get them to subscribe as well. That'd be really great. It'd be fantastic to have you aboard. Like, subscribe and share. Really gets the channel moving, and thank you to all the subscribers so far. 1923 I think as of today, which is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Less than 2 years, I've got nearly 2,000 subscribers. Slow burn, gaining traction, all of the stuff that they use, all of the buzzwords, but yeah, we're moving up, and I'm happy, and I've got a fantastically smooth, easy gear change now. Till the next time, take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.